Dr. Megan Woods.
Mr. Chairman, there's no need to be so rude to my colleague as to refer to him as that. But, Mr. Chairman, it is with great delight that I take a call on this Taxation Annual Rates Returns Filing and Remedial Matters Bill 2011. And when we look at the purpose of this bill, when you're coming down to the House to speak on a bill such as this, you don't actually realise that you're walking down to actually speak on a piece of legislation that nowhere is it clearer that this is a government without a plan. This is a piece of legislation that in the part of the bill that we're currently debating sets the rates of taxation. And as the Minister and the Chair has said, sets the rates of taxation and puts out what their plan for managing the economy is. Because this is, as previous speakers have said, tinkering around the edges, and it's tinkering around the edges while the economy tanks. We are spending $10,000 a minute here for members opposite to explain their plan. It's not a 104-point plan, it's not a 110-point plan, it's not even a 10-point plan. It is the no plan. There is simply no plan here. Because, Mr. Chairman, it is tax policies that can be used to address the inequalities that we are facing in New Zealand. These are inequalities that have never been higher. And all we hear from members opposite is a chorus of, it's a global financial crisis. Well, here's a message for members opposite. It is a choice you make with your policies that you make the poorest people suffer the most in times of economic crisis. That is a choice that you make, and your tax switch of 2010 only exacerbated this situation. We're told by members opposite that this is rubbish. Well, this is not rubbish. Here's a fact that members opposite might like to consider. The tax switch that members opposite put into place widened the gap between someone earning $30,000 and someone earning $150,000 by $135 a week. I'm not talking about that being the difference. That is how much the gap widened. We're told by members opposite that actually we've seen a rise in income since National have been in power. No, we have not. What we have actually seen is a fall in real incomes. We have seen a fall in real incomes for the first time since the 1990s, the last time that National was in power, because what we are seeing is that the poorest people are suffering. The day after the 2010 budget, John Key proclaimed that the tax reforms that his government were introducing have been designed to be broadly fiscally neutral. Well, we now have a definition of what broadly fiscally neutral means to members opposite. To Todd McClay, the member for Rotorua, apparently $1 billion is broadly fiscally neutral to members opposite, because that is the size of the whole of the tax switch that they put into place. I would like that member to take a call and tell us what is fiscally neutral about a $1 billion hole, a $1 billion hole of iniquity. But that is something that he is not even over the detail of, as most of the members opposite aren't. What happened with the tax switch is actually we had a set of policies that crashed the revenue side of the budget. We have a dwindling government revenue base, and this has forced more borrowing. And then we have members opposite who have the audacity to call themselves good economic managers. Good economic managers that think that $1 billion is broadly fiscally neutral. And they have the audacity to paint Labour, who consistently kept the books in order and ran large surpluses, as spendthrifts. They simply have no plan, and they simply have no way of looking at it. Labor had put up excellent alternatives to this approach at the last election, and we have not heard one compelling argument from members opposite about what was wrong, how that wouldn't have modified the economy. We're told there was no detail around Labor's capital gains tax policy. This is just ridiculous. There were pages and pages of modelling, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Megan Woods.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. There were pages and pages of modelling. We also had a savings plan that actually gave some surety to people and ensured that they were going to stay in that scheme. What we didn't have is the up and down and changing that erodes people's confidence in KiwiSayer that we're seeing with this piece of legislation. Is it 2%? Is it 3%? Is it 4%? That level of uncertainty is no way to encourage Kiwis into the scheme and to keep them there. And my colleague David Cunliffe has addressed that. We've been told many things tonight in the course of this debate, and one of these is that we're told that the member rejected by Dunedin South has stood up and told us that in the last election, every time he went on campus in Dunedin North, that he was told by students that only the very rich and the very poor students could get student allowances. Well, he's a member of a government that's certainly set about fixing that, because if you're a postgraduate student in this country now, no student will get student allowance. They've certainly introduced equity into this area. It's one of the few places where they've actually introduced equity, because no one, no matter what their level of income, can get a student allowance under this government to do the very research that will benefit this country and will actually do something to address the levels of inequality that we're seeing in this country and that members opposite are claiming are not a problem. We have growing inequality in this country. We have a government that has no plan to address it, a government that refuses to believe that they have a choice in the context of a global economic climate, that they have made choices that have meant the poorest New Zealanders have borne the brunt of this recession. Their incomes are lower, their taxes are higher as a result of their tax switch, and they are worse off. They can bury their head in the sands, or they can read the international reports and reports that are coming out daily that are showing their government has failed when it comes to addressing inequality in this country, and has failed to put in place any plans that will address inequality into the future. This piece of legislation that we're looking at here today does nothing but show that this is a government without a plan. It is a tax system that is wedded to benefiting the highest earning New Zealanders the most and doing nothing to addressing inequality in New Zealand.
Mr. Chairman. Dr. Rajim Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's a good place to